Hello. Okay, so it is a cold December afternoon, and I hope that you have a cup of tea or a coffee with you. I've got a coffee in the sheep mug, and I'm sitting in my garden, and I'm gonna do a 2-part series. It's not a series, but I'm gonna do a video on some of my favourite books of all time, and then I'm also gonna do another video, which will be my next video, which is going to be my favourite children's books of all time, because most of the books I have read have been kids' books, and I have a couple of some of my favourites, and they're all completely different, and some are fiction, some are non-fiction, some are biographies, but then something I also want to kind of talk about, which I think I'll talk about mostly in my next video, is sort of how our tastes change, how I can have a book that is my favourite book and then over time change my mind on it and it not be my favourite anymore. Especially because if you watch my testimony video, the way that I lived my life before I came back to Christ, because I'm a Christian, and I went through a period of time where I was not living my life as I should have done as a Christian, and my life was just not good at all. And so my view on a lot of things have changed. A lot of things that I would have read when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't read now, just because my outlook on things are different. I'm probably a lot more careful with things that I read and things that I watch, and just making sure that I'm putting, I'm not like reading stuff that I shouldn't be looking at. But I'll probably just talk about that more in my next video. There is one thing here, but we're just going to start. Obviously, I would probably, as a Christian, I'd say my favourite book of all time is the Bible. But we're not going to talk about that today. I can talk about that in another video. But the first one is here on my list is The Hiding Place. And this is by a woman called Corrie ten Boom. And she's written, this was her first book, called In My Father's House. And I got tea on it at some point. But her story has been so inspiring to me throughout my whole life. Like, God has actually really spoken to me through her life story. She was the daughter of a watchmaker in Holland, and like during World War II, and she ends up going to concentration camps and stuff. But there's just so many things that God has taught me through this book. There's a scene where her and her sister Betsy are in a concentration camp, and they're in these barracks, and there are fleas, and they are reading the Bible together, and they read 1 Thessalonians 5:18, which says to be thankful in all circumstances. And her sister says to her, we should be thankful to God for these fleas that are in the barracks. And Corrie is like, why am I thankful for the fleas? But she was like, thank you God for the fleas. And they thank God for the fleas. And then later they realised that actually, because the fleas were in the barracks, it meant that they were actually able to hold Bible studies and spread the gospel because of the fleas. And so that has just been something that has really stuck with me throughout my whole life. Is just to be thankful, sometimes even for the difficult things, but in every circumstance I can be thankful to God, because God knows more than I know, and I can be thankful to him, because even if things are difficult, I might not know why God is letting this difficult thing happen. And then In My Father's House, I was actually praying one night. This is like the first book to this. This is like what happens before. And I was praying once, and I was kind of sad that, like, this is like confession time. Some people, like some Christians, will get like visions from God, or like hear him speak audibly. And I was like, God, why do I never get anything like this? Like, why do I never, be like, God, what shall I do? And then I just like, get an audible voice that's like, you should do this. And I was like, God, I don't know. Like, and I was like, why are other people like more special? Like, I don't know, it's probably a selfish prayer. And I was reading the book the next day when I was at work, and it was, Corrie had literally asked the same question to someone else, like the same question that I was thinking about. And someone said to her, like, what is it, like, blessed are those who don't see me but believe. There's some verse like that, and I was like, wow, like the fact that I don't get these signs or these visions or whatever, and I still believe, shows my faith. And I just took real comfort in that. God has just used Corrie ten Boom's life to really, really like minister to me, and I am ever grateful for him for that. Okay, so that is these two. The next one is completely different. You probably won't be expecting it, and that is The Secret Dreamworld of a Shopaholic. First time I read this book, I loved it. Like, I adore this book, and I think from a Christian perspective it's probably not like the best book, because there's a woman who like indulges in shopping, and like shopping is her life, and she's like addicted to it. And also there's like some scenes and stuff, there's like definitely some non-Christian values. Like, this woman lies a lot. She is actually not very nice. I don't actually like her at all. But there is a very woman girl part of me that actually does like shopping. I used to not like shopping when I was younger, but as I've grown older, I actually do like shopping. I do like looking at things and looking at clothes, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's okay to enjoy going shopping as a woman. I think it's okay to do woman things as a woman. And this was it's happy, it's fun. Like, it's one of those books that once you start, you sit down, you just read the whole thing in one go. It's just fun, and it's girly, and I like that kind of thing. The movie as well just encapsulates everything so well. Like, if you have read this book and you've not watched the movie, actually, if you like girly movies and you haven't seen the movie, please watch it. I love just like really like girly stuff. So yeah, I just enjoyed reading this book. Okay. The next book on here, on my list, is my favourite book of all time. This is my favourite book apart from the Bible, like, of all time, and that is Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is my all-time favourite novel. Now, I read this before I watched the movie. A lot of people don't even know that the movie came from a book by Michael Crichton, and do you know what? I like dinosaurs. I don't know loads about dinosaurs, like I don't like know loads of facts about them, but I just enjoy dinosaurs. The storytelling in this is just, what I don't like is flowery language. See, when I read Anne of Green Gables or poetry and stuff, I can't do it. No, like, nothing from the Romantic era, I can't do it, because it's too descriptive. Like, if someone says, I walked through a forest and there were trees, I can picture that. But if someone spends 5 pages explaining what this forest looks like, I just get so bored. And I do appreciate that there's art in that, and I get that people love nature writing, but that's not me. And I often find that male writers do not have flowery language at all, and they're quite more straight to the point, and I appreciate that, because that's how my brain works. I'm very straight to the point in a lot of things, and so I like that. I just like the way that he writes. Yeah. I have a review on Goodreads. I have 2 reviews on Goodreads on why I love this book. Like, each of the characters are completely different. The characters are incredible characters. In fact, I used to have a crush on Ian Malcolm, but we don't talk about that. I like that, although this is a book about dinosaurs, that it's a book that is not saying we should make dinosaurs or we should try and bring them back, but it shows that if we try and mess with science, that things go wrong, that bringing back dinosaurs is actually an incredibly bad idea. And the story is, this is just, I think I would struggle to give you the words right now why Jurassic Park is my favourite book, but it's science, there's dinosaurs, there's like drama, there's not flowery language, it's like straight to the point. However, the next book, The Lost World, is one of the worst books I've ever read. I did not enjoy that at all. And there is a lot of brutal deaths in this, actually. Do you know what? Michael Crichton has this weird obsession with like intestines. Every time someone dies, it's about their intestines being nibbled or something by dinosaurs. It's actually so weird. However, I think I might try and reread this. I would love to do a video on like the theology of Jurassic Park and looking at it from a Christian perspective. I don't know if anyone would be interested in that, but there you go. Jurassic Park, best book I have ever read. I would highly recommend to like everyone. Please read. It's very good and dinosaur-y. All right, coffee break. Okay, this next book is not one you were expecting, but it is perfect for this weather. And I've read this like 3 or 4 times. I don't know why I love this book. And it's The Igloo by Charlotte and David Yu. And it's literally just a book about people who live in Arctic environments. It's a non-fiction book. It's a fact book. And it's just information. See, look, this is how polar bears live in the thing. These are different arrowheads that people use when they're hunting seals. And for some reason, this was like the most fascinating book to me that I've ever read. Like, I love animals. I love that it's not marine biology. So I did marine I did a marine biology college course. And I really like that sort of thing. And this is kind of like marine biology, but it's not, because it's actually people who live above the water, but the water's frozen. So like, see David Attenborough's Blue Planet and Frozen Planet. Those are amazing. I love watching them. I used to watch one specific like Blue Planet episode on repeat. I used to just love it. The pictures in here are just really, I love the pictures. Bring back picture books, please. Adult books should have pictures in them. Like, this is like how they would make their houses. So they have like their igloos or like multiple different parts. Like, it's actually fascinating that there are real people who live in other situations. And this is something about this book I just find so fascinating that I've just read it so many times. And it's perfect to read when it's cold as well. I like reading this in the winter time. Yeah. So that's that. Now we have one more book to go. And the next one is Love Thy Body by Nancy Pearcey. And this is also one of the best books I have ever read in my entire life. So Nancy Pearcey is a Christian, and she basically writes about eugenics in this. So she talks about transgenderism, homosexuality, abortion, and euthanasia. And when I read this book, it made me become aware of things that I didn't know. And it's looking at it from a Christian perspective and kind of understanding, how do we look at personhood? How do we really understand that? And how does that affect these other things like transgenderism and abortion and things? There you go. So it's answering hard questions about life and sexuality. And she's got some other books that are really good. She's got one about the war on toxic masculinity. She's got one that I'm reading at the moment called Finding Truth, which is like an apologetics book about kind of like, how do I explain it? It's kind of looking at different worldviews and kind of picking them apart. Kind of, you know, like reductionism, materialism, empiricism, romanticism, like loads of different things. And saying how, although these views have lots of value in them, that a lot of them are just so wrong. And when you look at them from a Christian perspective, only, you know, you can only have, what am I trying to say? It's like, it can only really be fulfilled in Christianity. Like, these worldviews don't fully explain the whole world, but Christianity does. Anyway, this book was very helpful when I was in my ethics class, and I told my fiance about this book and was like, you should read this and it will help you with your presentation. And so he used it, and we both absolutely love her books. So that is that. I did read this a little while ago, and it's one of those books that you sort of have to dip in and out of. I kind of read a chapter of it in between every other book that I was reading, and that helped me get through it. It's a lot to take in one go, but she's very, very accessible. See, I wanted to kind of understand transgenderism from a Christian perspective and see if anyone had written about it from a Christian perspective. And I wanted to see, you know, a Christian take on it. So that is that book there. And that is the end of my video. That is some ramblings about my books, about my thoughts, about many different things, about dinosaurs, about eugenics, about igloos, about shopping, about Corrie ten Boom. Like, that is a whole... I will read everything. Okay, maybe not. I don't read fantasy, and I don't read horror, and I don't read thrillers anymore, actually. And I don't read romance, which is funny because a lot of girls love romance, and I do get it, but I'm just not interested. Like, the only romance that I'm interested in is my own with my fiance, who I'm getting married to next year, which is very exciting. Anyways, that is the end of the video. I hope that was kind of interesting. I'm going to be making another one on like my kids' books. And if you have anything that you're interested in, or books, or my thoughts on some books, then please let me know, and I can do more book videos, I guess. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you all later.